What's up, everybody? Wanted to hop on here, do a quick review install of the Evolution Plus ceramic brake pads and then the Auto Shack rotors because my van is due for brakes. And I'm going to show you, kind of do an unboxing and show you how to put them on. Now, if you've never done disc brakes before, they're actually fairly simple, and shops sometimes are going to charge you a lot of money to do them, and it is something you can save some money at, do it at home, provided you have the right tools, which really aren't that much. First thing, obviously, we're going to get the whole car jacked up, get the wheel off, but really at the end of the thing, there's going to be 1, 2, and then there's going to be 3, and then 4 down here. There's only 4 bolts that have to come off on the whole process, and then it's just various lubing and swapping out parts and stuff. But that's really all it is. Now, for the 2019 Pacifica, you're going to need a 21 millimeter socket for the caliper. Those are the big ones on the back, and then to actually get the caliper off here to do the pads. If you're doing pads only, you're going to need a 13 millimeter socket to go on these little bolts right up here. Other than that, it's really just a flathead screwdriver and a C clamp to kind of reset the caliper. I'll show you how to do that later on in a bit. Now, if you've just been driving, this is all going to be very, very hot, so either wait till the car cools, let it sit down and things cool, or I'm just going to wear a pair of gloves when I make the video. All right, first thing we're going to do here is we're actually going to put our 13 on the top of the bolt for the caliper, and we're just going to break it loose. And we're just like that. We'll do this for both of them. After we've got those 2 top and bottom removed, we're basically just going to take the caliper. The caliper comes right off, and what you want to do is you want to set it off to the side. Sometimes I try to hang it up here, but whatever you do not want to let it hang by the brake hose. When that's done, you can actually just use your flathead screwdriver here and just pop out your brake pads. And there's the old ones. Now, if you were just putting a set of new pads on, you would clean up all over here, put the pads on, put the caliper on, and you're good to go. But we're going to be doing the rotor as well. Now, once we get the box open for the Evolutions, we actually see that there's 4 pads in here because they do sell them as a set. If you only have to do fronts, you only have to buy 1 box because there's a set for both sides. And you can see here, you've actually got the metal backing plate here on the pad itself. And then this is the friction material. This is actually what makes you stop. I went with the ceramic ones because they are a little bit quieter than the semi-metallic pads. That's the trade-off you do. You get however, the ceramics don't last quite as long, and they put a little bit more dust onto the wheel. But again, they're quieter. You're not going to hear anything when you stop with these. If you went semi-metallics, you won't get as much dust. You'll get a little bit longer life, but it might sound like they're grinding a little bit. So that's why I went with the ceramic on this. Now inside, they also have there's these little clips that go into the caliper. Over here, the old ones here, you can just pull them right out on either side, and then they actually include the new ones in the box. Now for the big 21s here on the back, what we're gonna do is I'm actually gonna use an impact gun, but you can use this with a breaker bar. Basically, this just makes it really, really simple to try to get off. Here, let me line this up real quick. So this is on here, and then I just kind of, and that comes right out. Now once we do the same thing on the top, this bracket just comes right off, and now you're ready to actually get your rotor off the hub. Now, it's important to know that there's actually nothing holding the caliper onto the knuckle. However, if you notice the pile of rust down here, if you're in the Northeast, like me, sometimes you need a little hammer. Basically, what I did was I basically hit the hammer. Don't be afraid. You're not going to break anything. So what you want to do is you want to hit it down on the bottom, on the top, and alternate your blows. And what that's going to do is that's actually going to break the rust, and then you'll be able to actually just pull the caliper right off the hub. The one thing you want to make sure, though, I actually undid another little bolt here. Make sure this does not fall off, okay, while you're hitting. So maybe if you have one hand on the caliper and one hand to swing, which is why I didn't film it, because I had 2 hands, I don't have a third hand. But once that's done, now you're ready to start cleaning everything up, clean up your brackets, and we'll start the reinstall process. Now, once you get the old rotors here out of the box, it's important that you spray them down with brake cleaner because they actually coat them with an oil when they ship so they don't corrode, and we actually want to take that off before we put it on the car. And to do that, I'm just going to spray some brake parts cleaner and take a rag and just kind of wipe it off real quick. Once that's done getting clean, we're just going to pop it back up onto our knuckle. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to clean up this bracket so everything kind of moves smoothly and we don't wear out the new brakes. First thing we're going to do here is these little pins. They're called caliper slide pins. It's easier if you have 2 hands, but they just pull right out. Pull these right out, and what we're going to do is we're going to spray some brake parts cleaner in there and kind of just rinse out all the old gunk, and then we're actually going to put some new brake parts lubricant on this so everything slides nicely. That's done. Our pins are going to look all nice and clean. Then what we're going to do is we're actually going to take our brake parts lubricant. Don't worry, you don't have to buy a jar this big. They come in much smaller containers. But we're basically going to take the brake lube and lube up the pins. Take that there. The big one comes with a brush. and then you're just going to basically kind of glob it on there on the pin. So this way, when it goes into the caliper, everything slides like the way that it should. Oops, sorry, I'm doing that off camera. Hold on. So once that's in there, you basically just take your caliper and you push it down. You're going to notice there's like a little lip there on the caliper itself. You want this little rubber boot to kind of press over it when you kind of feel it pop. Now it's in. You do that for the other pin. When you're done with that, just wipe off any excess with a rag, and this is ready to go back on the car. All right, now when this one goes back on, I just kind of feed it around the rotor. Again, it's built for it, so it'll go right in. If it's not going right away, you might have it upside down. Once you get it on in the right position, you're just going to feed the bolt in down here, catch a couple of threads, and the top one here should just go right in as well. And when I do is I just go in, I get them, you know, as hand tight as I can, and then I just tighten them up with either the impact or the breaker bar. Now like that, your caliper's back on. Or the bracket, rather. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our little clips here from the pads, and we're going to actually just pop them, and you'll see there's like a little cradle here. And again, you got to find the right pads, but you want this little hook pin, you want that going out. And again, it might take you a couple to find the right one. When you're done, you want them to look like this. You want to have the little short side of the clip on the front on the outside. You want the tall part of the clip to go on the back here of that bracket. This is actually what your brake pad's going to slide on. Now, some guys some guys will put some lube on here to help them slide a little bit. Again, it's personal preference. I'm going to lube these up. You don't need to go crazy on these. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to put our brake pad into where the brake pads go. Now, I can't tell you how many times I've seen people get this wrong. You see how there's kind of a curve here? Actually, that makes it really easy. There's like a little curve over here. You want to make sure this curve goes with the curve of the wheel, but you want the friction side, the side with the slit, and not the smooth metal side. You want the side with the slit against the rotor. So again, you see the curve, follows the curve, and then you've got friction side in. I've seen these installed backwards all the time. It's hilarious when they do it. And this one here is just gonna basically go right into those clips, give it a firm press, and then you're set. Do the same on the other side. Now, in order to reset the caliper, what I do is I take the old brake pad and I kind of put it where it was in the caliper. Then I take a C-clamp on the back of the caliper here. Make sure you're not crushing any wires or not wires, any hoses or anything like that. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to basically turn the C-clamp until you see how this piston's over here. I'm going to push both pistons all the way back. I'll show you what that looks like when it's done. It's kind of hard to get a camera on this. But you'll see here that as I'm turning, I'm kind of pushing that one piston all the way back. I'm going to do that all the way for the other side too. Now if you look here, you'll see that the pistons are all totally, they're totally retracted, and now this is going to fit around the new rotors, or the new brake pads. Now we're just going to take the caliper now and just kind of put that around the pistons, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take these pins, get the top one here so we can let go of our caliper, put that in there, catch a thread, you'll see that. Now we can just adjust, hold on. Now we can just adjust down here, give the piston a little, the pin a little squeeze there. And then what we can do is take our second little screw that we took out in the beginning, pop that in there, get that about hand tight. Now after I get them hand tight, I'm going to go and I'm going to tighten them up here with a ratchet. Now you don't have to go super tight. Again, just enough leverage here so you'll kind of feel them snug down. When that's done, you're done here, and this here is replaced, but you're not done with the brake job. I'm going to go do the other side off camera, and we'll come back after I get the wheel on, because there's a couple things that you have to do once you get everything put back together at the wheel. All right, now that we're done with the other side and we're back here on the ground, the next thing that we got to do, because we push the calipers back, okay, we got to do is we got to make sure, and you're going to push your brake pedal until you get pressure. You want to start the car and press the brake pedal a couple of more times. So what happens is you want to get fluid back into those calipers. If you don't do this, you're probably going to roll into something because you're going to hit the brakes and nothing's going to happen. And then the last thing that you got to do before you're totally done is you do something called bedding the brakes. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm not going to do it here on camera for obvious reasons, but you want to drive the car up to about 30 miles an hour and then stop short all the way down to 5. Do that about 3 or 4 times, and when that's done, your brakes will be complete. Hey, real quick, if you like what you see in this video and you want to purchase one for yourself, I've left links to everything here in the description. And if you want more no-nonsense, no BS product reviews, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you don't miss one.